Have you ever wondered why the mind so easily slips into chaotic thoughts, from vague fears to imaginary futures? Or why negative emotions can so effortlessly sweep you away, leaving you powerless to resist? Are you truly in control of your mind, or is it controlling you? Let's do a simple test to find out. Close your eyes and try not to think about anything for 1 full minute. Most people won't be able to keep their mind blank for more than a few seconds. If thoughts keep arising automatically, from trivial worries to drifting memories, it shows that you're not truly the master of your own mind. The mind is like a wild horse. If you don't train yourself to hold the reins, it will take you wherever it pleases, usually to the past or the future, rarely the present. But don't worry. Simply becoming aware that your mind is controlling you is the first step toward change. Because awareness of the unconscious is the beginning of awakening, and awakening is the key to mastering your mind, reclaiming inner peace, and restoring balance in your life. In today's fast-paced, high-pressure world, awakening is no longer a luxury, it's an essential tool for living fully. Let's explore what awakening really means, the difference between those who are awakened and those who are not, how to practice it, and the profound joy of living each moment to the fullest. What is awakening? What is an awakened person? Awakening is a state of clear awareness of the present moment, being fully conscious of what's happening in your mind, body, and surroundings, without being swept away by emotions, thoughts, or judgments. It's not an on-off switch, but a continuous spectrum, like a scale from 0 to 100%. The more awakened a person is, the more clearly they perceive the present moment in everyday life. Awakening doesn't only belong to the enlightened or those who practice spiritual techniques. In ordinary people, awakening appears in moments, when they're angry but wise enough to hold back, when they realize they've been scrolling for hours and choose to stop and rest, or simply when they pause in the middle of a busy day to focus on their breath. All these moments, however fleeting, are expressions of awakening, even at a low level. They are brief separations from automatic reflexes, tiny glimpses of awareness amid the endless stream of thought. In spiritual terms, an awakened person is someone who recognizes the presence of an inner observer, a witness self. It's as if they have two parallel layers of consciousness. One is the ordinary self, thinking, worrying, reacting. The other is the silent observer, watching, assessing, and guiding. This is not a split personality. On the contrary, an awakened person is fully aware of this observer and actively chooses to steer the flow of thought rather than be controlled by it. An awakened person no longer identifies with fleeting thoughts or emotions. On contrary, an unawakened person hasn't yet recognized this observer and therefore tends to fully identify with whatever thoughts and emotions arise. That said, even unawakened people experience moments of awareness, as mentioned earlier, but not enough to form a constant, stable inner observer. The difference between the unawakened and the awakened. Awakened and unawakened people differ markedly in how they relate to their minds and to life. The unawakened are often swept away by their thoughts and emotions without realizing they've lost control. For example, when angry, they let the emotion dictate their words and actions. The awakened, on the other hand, choose to observe rather than react immediately. They notice the anger rising, take a step back, breathe, and decide not to let it explode. In their relationship with the mind, unawakened individuals often identify with their thoughts and feelings. A passing negative thought like, "I'm a failure," becomes a defining belief. In contrast, awakened individuals understand that thoughts are temporary products of the mind, shaped by old beliefs, not their true identity. This awareness allows them to separate themselves from thought and not let it define who they are. Even their experience of time is different. The unawakened are often trapped in regrets about the past or worries about the future, rarely living fully in the now. The awakened focus on the present moment, free from the weight of what was or what might be, enabling them to live more deeply and completely. Finally, self-awareness marks the greatest divide between the two states. The unawakened rarely recognize the deeper roots of their behaviors or emotions, and so remain stuck in cycles of suffering without knowing how to break free. The awakened possess high degrees of self-awareness. They understand their motives, wounds, and how the mind operates, giving them greater control over their lives and allowing them to find true inner peace. Benefits of living mindfully. Mindfulness not only brings inner peace, but also has a profound impact on your physical and mental health. When you practice mindfulness, you significantly reduce stress thanks to your ability to regulate emotions and avoid being swept away by worries. Research shows that mindfulness meditation can lower blood pressure, improve heart rate, and reduce the risk of stress-related illnesses such as heart disease and insomnia. Mentally, mindfulness alleviates symptoms of depression and anxiety by helping you break free from the spiral of negative thinking, bringing clarity and inner balance. It also strengthens the immune system because a calm mind produces less cortisol, a harmful hormone when in excess. Even your sleep improves, as mindfulness helps you let go of obsessive thoughts before bed, easing you into a deeper state of rest. In other words, mindfulness is a natural remedy that heals the soul and nourishes the body from within. Ultimately, mindfulness gives rise to wisdom. When the mind is no longer governed by desire, fear, or illusion, you begin to see clearly the nature of life and yourself. Mindfulness doesn't provide ready-made answers, but creates the space for wisdom to arise, wisdom born from direct experience and clear insight into reality. How to cultivate mindfulness through meditation. Unlike spiritual awakening, which often involves major life upheavals, mindfulness is a skill that can be trained through self-reflection, meditation, reading, yoga, qigong, or simply slowing down to observe yourself. Among these, meditation is the most common path because it only requires sitting still and focusing on your breath. Let me guide you through the breathing meditation I used to cultivate mindfulness after my own spiritual awakening. I sit cross-legged because I'm not accustomed to the lotus or half-lotus position. You can choose whatever posture feels most comfortable, as long as your back is straight, eyes closed, hands resting gently on your thighs, and attention focused on your belly. Breathe slowly, noticing the belly rising as you inhale and falling as you exhale. Many people underestimate the breathing method due to its simplicity, which leads to issues like chest pain during meditation. This often stems from reversed breathing, contracting the belly when inhaling and expanding it when exhaling. That's why beginners should focus on the belly and let the breath flow naturally. You can silently repeat, inhale, exhale in your mind to enhance concentration. If your mind wanders during meditation, thinking about the past, future, or emotions, don't scold yourself. Gently acknowledge the distraction and return to the breath. Feel the air moving through your nose, your belly rising as you breathe in and falling as you breathe out. Each time you notice you've lost focus and come back to the breath, you're strengthening your mindfulness. Countless trivial thoughts will arise while meditating. What to eat tonight, what your partner is doing, whether your tasks are sorted. Let them go and return to your breath. However, when deep emotional wounds surface and become overwhelming, you need to stop meditating and confront them seriously. Some suggest observing, acknowledging, or gently embracing these feelings, but that's not easy, especially for those without a solid mindfulness foundation. If you can't return to the breath because the pain is too intense, pause the meditation. What you need to do is address the root of those emotions. Learn how mindful people think, how they face suffering and transform themselves through adversity. When you shift your perspective, the emotion also shifts, not by avoidance, but by genuine understanding. For example, if you're recovering from the pain of being betrayed by a partner, their image with someone else may appear during meditation, causing a sharp ache in your chest. At this point, instead of forcing yourself to meditate, ask, what am I clinging to? Love? Hatred? Fear of abandonment? Listen to podcasts on love by mindful people. Learn how they love without control, without possession, and how they embrace change. When you understand that suffering comes from within, you'll stop blaming others and start healing, turning pain into a chance to grow. Another example. If you feel hurt when someone belittles you for not being wealthy, their words may echo during meditation, preventing peace of mind. Instead of forcing yourself to focus on your breath, ask, why does this hurt me? Am I craving validation from others? Study how mindful people perceive self-worth, not as something dependent on others' opinions. When you feel whole from within, such insults no longer affect you. Building the right awareness. At the beginning of your mindfulness journey, reshaping your awareness should take priority over just focusing on meditation. If faulty perceptions remain, they can emerge during meditation, dragging you into negative thoughts and emotions and making it hard to stay focused. For instance, someone with unhealed childhood wounds may burst into tears when meditation stirs up repressed feelings. Beyond reading theory, you should apply the knowledge to interpret real-life events around you. One of the least painful ways to grow is to learn from others' suffering. Put yourself in their shoes. With the same circumstances and mindset, how would you overcome the pain? Then compare your perspective with that of mindful individuals to see where you align. Gradually, you'll begin to understand why people suffer and what actions lead to what results. Your life depends on how you perceive problems. Given the same event, different ways of thinking and acting will lead to different outcomes. If you default to blame and resentment, you'll always feel agitated and may attract more misfortune, as suggested by the law of attraction. On the other hand, if you approach situations with compassion and put yourself in others' positions, you'll understand why they act the way they do, forgive more easily, and sometimes realize the root cause lies within you. Once you identify the issue in yourself, transformation becomes possible. Changing your perspective helps free the mind. Make it a habit to use right awareness to challenge wrong perceptions whenever they arise. As you accumulate enough insight, your consciousness will gradually evolve in a positive direction. Eventually, old issues will no longer distract you during meditation. How long does it take to become mindful through meditation? If you've experienced spiritual awakening, you may reach mindfulness quickly through meditation. In my case, after just 2 weeks of meditating for 20 to 30 minutes every morning, I became aware of the inner observer self. Those who've undergone awakening usually carry less attachment, having already gone through a process of mental transformation, so they enter deep meditation and mindfulness more easily. Conversely, people who haven't awakened spiritually may need more time to get used to meditation. Initially, it may be difficult to focus, but don't be discouraged. Mindfulness is like building muscle. The more you train, the more control you gain over your mind. After a few weeks of consistent practice, you'll notice fewer negative thoughts, calmer reactions in tough situations, and a heightened awareness of each moment. If you want to understand the mindfulness journey more deeply, what happens in the mind, how to sustain that clarity in daily life, try meditating for just 5 minutes a day and share your experience. This journey is only beginning, and we'll explore it step by step together. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. Follow this Mindfulness Treasury channel so you won't miss more inspiring content on mindful living.